This is my last time up here as chair. Next month I will not be a board member, but I would like to share some observations and concerns I have gained over the last 6 months. 6 months ago, I entered into this board situation because of the chaos that was going on at the college, that they were unable to conduct business because they went from 5 trustees to 4, which was 2 to 2, they could do nothing, to 2, and they could not even have an agenda. The State Board of Education stepped in. They did a very good job of calling for volunteers. There were 37 people volunteered to take on the board trusteeship for 6 months. They vetted all these people, they interviewed, and the 3 of us were chosen to serve. And I want to thank both of them for their service for this last 6-month period. So it's been my privilege to really serve as chair. I've attempted to facilitate the meetings of the board so that we could get the business done. I've tried not to interject my opinions so that we could get the information through.
You just did.
You
just did. It was reported to the NWCCU that the 2-2 split board was passing policies and was a functioning board.
Greg,
you guys don't know your facts, and you keep lying.
To be quiet for just a little bit, or do we have to turn your microphone off?
You can turn it off, but it was reported to the accreditation board that the 2-2 split board was passing policies and was a well-operating, functioning board.
Is this going to be 30 seconds or 5 minutes? Because I don't want to hear a diatribe from you.
And I think remarks of the good of the order are supposed to be well less than 30 seconds.
There is no
rules with you, sir. It's whatever your power gives you.
Well, I have more to say.
Go ahead, Dictator Wold. You've been in all 6 months.
I attended both candidate forums, the one that the Chamber put on and the one at the Micah Grange. So I listened to all 6 candidates, their views and their qualifications. This is supposed to be a nonpartisan election and a nonpartisan board. It appears to me that there is a Kootenai County Republican Central Committee group that has been recruited and vetted by that group. I'll call them the Central Committee Group. There are 3 other candidates that go by the name. Sir?
You are inappropriate.
Please allow me to speak. If you are elected to the board, you could sit up here and speak at your time.
You weren't elected to the board.
Yeah, that's true.
The Central Committee Group have lived in Kootenai County 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. They have had no interaction with NIC within any of that time and no community involvement. The Friends of NIC Group
this is so
are
disgusting.
longtime residents of Kootenai County with extensive NIC and community involvement.
You should be embarrassed.
All 6 candidates are very concerned about accreditation.
All of them claim to be conservative.
I want to thank candidate Hartman for his verification of the board's work in terms of taking care of accreditation problems. He feels that the board has accomplished most of the requirements set down by the accreditation agency. Let us look at some of the ideas or some of the areas that he has proposed as having been solved. Let me first of all, though, say that accreditation has not been threatened by anything that is done with the students, faculty. It's all been on the board. The number one thing that he stated was that the hiring of a long-term president was extremely important. And I'm going to quote from their report. The panel recommends that hiring a long-term president as quickly as possible using a credible and transparent hiring process, including full participation of faculty, staff, students, and community members, is necessary. There was a 27-member search committee chaired by Trustee Banducci, past Trustee Howard, and Trustee Brochet. They went through a long process of vetting candidates and brought 5 names to the board for interview. The first stumbling block that I found as chair was that Trustee Banducci wished to delay any choice of president until after the election.
That's because the accreditation agency
And-
gave us time to do that.
And hiring a long-term president as quickly as possible was a recommendation of the,
The accreditation agency specifically gave us time
fortunately,
to let the community weigh in, and you guys specifically, the
you should be
search,
you should be
presidential
embarrassed by
search
it.
advisor
be embarrassed
even
by
recommended it before Christie started coordinating with her.
Can we turn off his microphone so that he will not interrupt everything?
You just want
Fortunately-
one side of the story.
Fortunately,
You just want
pres-
the arbiter of truth.
fortunately, a president was chosen. 3 votes by the 3 trustees appointed. 2 negative votes by the 2 members of the Central Committee. The first major goal was then accomplished by this board, at least by the 3 of us. The second had to do with a policy necessary to deal with conduct by the board. This policy had been presented, tabled, and moved off back and forth. But it was finally discussed and passed by a 3-2, 3 votes, once again, for the appointed trustees, 2 negative votes by the 2 Central Committee trustees. Guidelines that they mentioned that they wanted to see us try to do as a board was to work with fellow trustees in a spirit of harmony and cooperation in spite of differences of opinion.
You haven't done.
Respect the majority decisions of the board. Maintain the highest standards of civility and respect accorded to public office through the absence of unwarranted criticism of fellow board members, the board, NIC administration, and employees. The agency has also asked us to send them a tape of each of the board meetings so they can evaluate the board's actions and active of each board member in terms of their behavior and at times, Greg, their language, which is apprehensible. The third big area that Mr. Hartman said was to hire senior leadership. Once again, they asked that we try to do this as quickly as possible through the proper ways. Fortunately, we were able to hire Dr. Swain at a reasonable time, and he is well into that process. So this is being done. The next item is one that's been really troublesome for this board, and that is delineation of the role of the board as a trustee and the role of the president. There are specific differences, and I'll read directly from policy. Demonstrate respect and consideration of the recommendations of the college presidents. While it is understood that the board may not agree with all recommendations of the president, it is imperative the board demonstrate respectful consideration of the recommendations of the president. To consider an act of the recommendation of the president in all matters of policy relating to the governance and welfare of the college and the welfare of the student. That it is the trustees are responsible for creating and maintaining a spirit of true cooperation and a mutually supportive relationship with its CEO. Dr. Swain has tried to reach out to all the trustees over the last 3 months, and with multiple calls to you, you have never responded to any of his calls, Greg. That's terrible.
Regularly.
That is to provide overall direction to the college by setting policy while allowing the president the authority to provide daily administration of said policies.
I'm lucky all of my family members were alive this month.
Individual trustees with questions regarding the operations of the college as inquiries concerning employment of admission to the college, complaints about students, complaints from faculty or staff, complaints or questions about administration, complaints or questions about facilities shall convey to the office of the president for consideration of possible action. The report stated that in the past, a board chair had actually tried to hire non-CEO administrators and had actually gone to a faculty member to try to change a student's grade. So this is an area that needs a great deal of work in terms of this board is not complying with what they want to do. So now this brings us to the election of November 8th. We have 3 Central Committee candidates that attest to very close ties, similar values and ideology, and the ability to work closely together with the two incumbents, Central Committee trustees. If one of these is elected, there will be a majority that Trustee Banducci has promised he will be able to reverse all we have done. In fact, I was unfortunately present at dinner tonight, and I heard Trustee Banducci negatively go after Trustee Getty, saying that we will control this board after November in 15 days. We will control most everything in this city. We already control school boards, we do the hospital board. The only problem we have is we may not be able to control the school or the hospital board or maybe even the city council, but we're out to control everything else. I have voted, and I will closely watch this election for the results. And I'm not the only one that's going to be watching this election results. We have young people and their parents in their high school years looking for a place for dual enrollment and future study. They're all going to be looking at the results of this election. We have students and prospective students in our professional technical areas and work-study programs. They too are going to be watching this election. We have local employers who depend upon NIC for their workforce. They're going to be looking at this election. The Northwest CCU, the accreditation agency, is going to be looking at this election to monitor governance of the trustees before their April revisit, because actions in the past have cost this college hundreds of thousands of dollars because of their actions. The ICRIPS, the state insurance agency, is going to monitor what happens this election. They are monitoring governance to see if they are willing to give us insurance once again, which would save us hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've had to go to a different insurance company. The NIC Foundation donors are going to be looking to this election.
That's what it's really about.
If they can once again safely donate hundreds of thousands of dollars for student aid and college needs. The state of Idaho and beyond are going to be looking at this election to see if the ideology of a certain number of people can flourish within like-minded individuals and control a county and a state in the future. This meeting is adjourned.